Yeah, well, as people are aware, the previous weekend we had a number of incidents of antisocial behaviour and some dangerous driving, and there was a number of press statements made in relation to that. And then on Friday night, police had a bottle thrown through their windows. They attempted to disperse the crowds at a large gathering in Fyshwick. So in accordance with our promises that we'd follow up on that, we were grateful to receive a lot of information from the public through Crime Stoppers and through phone calls into police operations, as well as postings on social media. And we've since that time we identified 2 vehicles on Saturday night that were involved in burnouts, and those vehicles were seized and prosecutions commenced against those drivers. And then this morning we continued with the investigation into the episodes on the weekend, and another 2 vehicles were seized, and the drivers of that will be prosecuted as well. And we've also identified the person who threw the bottle through the rear of the police car, and they'll be receiving a summons to attend court in relation to the damage. 4 of the people in relation to their motor vehicles will be issued traffic infringement notices in relation to their driving, and the person who threw the bottle through the rear window of the police car will be summoned to appear before court at a later date.
The vehicle seizures, that's 48 hours, is it?
No, the vehicles can be seized for up to 3 months, but what will generally happen is we seize the vehicle for a month and look to commence some form of prosecution or the issue of a traffic infringement notice during that time.
The reason why you seize the vehicles, is that just to kind of get them off the road?
Well, the legislation provides us with the opportunity to do that, and it is one of the things to do is to get the vehicles off the road. It's also a way to discourage people from doing this sort of thing. If they know that there's the potential for their vehicles to be removed from them, their mode of transport to be taken away, that hopefully that operates as a deterrent to people.
Why do police?
Sorry? No, at this particular stage, we're hoping that people, take heed of the message that's been delivered to them by the seizing their vehicle this time, and through the prosecution, either through traffic infringement notice or through the court process. But there's nothing in ACT legislation that allows our vehicle to be taken away from them permanently. However, if they continue along those lines, their right to drive might be taken away from them through continuing to offend.
Why do police?
Sorry? Well, the investigations are ongoing in relation to this, and we expect to hopefully identify a number of other vehicles that were involved. It wasn't just 4 vehicles that were involved over the weekend. There were a large number of vehicles involved, and we are actively continuing to try to identify offenders, as if necessary, take the same action against them. I'm not aware of any approaches being made to us by the e-scooter companies in relation to the weekend.
There were plans for another sort of mini summer Nats thing around March, I think, and that's been cancelled.
Yep.
Obviously, you know that's kind of coming up. Do you think probably police will be more on the front foot a bit around those dates?
Yeah, and I mean the behaviour on the weekend was something that caught us a little bit unawares, but given the context behind that and the potential for the event that was in Sydney that was made quite difficult for ACT people to travel to due to COVID restrictions, and a planned Summer Nats event that people were hoping to attend in March, we would obviously actively discourage people from trying to continue with that sort of behaviour over that weekend, but we're well aware of it now, and we'll be very much on the lookout for any of that sort of behaviour.
The people whose cars have been seized, are they all ACT residents?
I can't comment on their location.
They're pretty large crowds. How do you identify that one person who threw the bottle?
Well, we've had a large range of ways of identifying that person who threw the bottle. Obviously, there's a lot of social media footage, and we've been grateful to the public who've actually come forward and identified that offender for us.
And have those crowds been helpful in identifying other cars involved?
Some people in the crowd have participated in that and given us some sort of assistance, but other people have just identified people over social media or said they knew somebody and felt obliged to get in contact with us to enable us to do what we had to do.
So it seems like social media's really worked against those involved.
It has. I mean, the people, people seem to get quite excited by showing this sort of stuff on social media, but it's arguably turned around and bitten them on this occasion, because their willingness to sort of share that information has led to their detection and to their prosecution. If they want to continue to be silly enough to try and do this sort of stuff and put it on social media, then they can expect those ramifications at the back end.
What do you think was the trigger point for this event?
I have no idea what the trigger point for the event. I've heard a lot of excuses behind what the trigger point could be, the potential for that event that was on in Sydney, the absence of a dedicated facility. for this sort of behaviour in the ACT, a regulated facility. But I don't see any rationale or rhyme or reason behind the behaviour. It's juvenile, it's dangerous, and we'll stamp on it in the future as well.
Anecdotally, I've been hearing of just a bit of hooning around my house. Have you had many more incidents throughout the week?
Nothing of any great nature or of any large importance, but we take any report of this sort of behaviour seriously. So if people are finding out this sort of behaviour, detecting this sort of behaviour, then they're more than welcome to contact us through police operations, and we'll take action where we can.
But there have been some incidents.
I'm not aware of any other ones, no.
I know you can't comment on another jurisdiction, but it's odd that we've pursued this, ACT has pursued this, whereas all of the major issues happened at Eaglehawk, where 1,000 odd people, lots of burnouts, but New South Wales have taken no action.
I'm not aware of what action New South Wales Police took in relation to either the most recent events at Eaglehawk or the events about a year ago, so I couldn't comment on that.
Can you refresh my memory too? Is there levels of property damage? Is there malicious property damage or just property damage?
Well, in this particular incident, it'd be damage to Commonwealth property, a Commonwealth vehicle, a vehicle that's owned by the ACT government or by the Commonwealth. So it's a different type of damage, but it's still a damage type offence. It's still a criminal offence.
Were those police officers in that particular vehicle that was damaged, were they new to the force, or were they surprised, shocked?
Well, I think the amount of time they'd spent in the police force is sort of largely irrelevant. I'm sure anybody would be shocked whether you've been in the police force 30 seconds or 30 years. You don't expect to see a beer bottle come through your back window. So I don't think the experience of them is particularly relevant, but I would be fair to say that any police officer would be shocked to have an unexpected beer bottle come through their back window.